Welcome to the Love People Use Things podcast. I'm Matt Fradd. Today we're going to talk about anime porn. Yeah, anime porn. We'll talk about what that is in a sec if you're not aware of it. But thanks for tuning in again. It's been super great to get so many emails and reviews and people beginning to support Love People Use Things on Patreon. This is something that I want to continue to do and I want to continue to make better. And so getting your feedback is really helpful. Please follow us on Twitter and write us a review on iTunes. And if you want to become part of the Love People Use Things campaign, you can do that just by going to lovepeopleusethings.fm. And then you'll learn about all the cool stuff you get in return for supporting us. So I travel the country, as many of you know, and I speak a lot of different places. Just last week I was in Louisiana. I spoke at LSU to some university students. I spoke at one old boys school. I spoke at a co-ed school. So I think all in all, about 2,000 people I spoke to. And you know what's interesting is that when people have questions about porn, there's about 20 to 30 questions that I get on porn. And they kind of keep rotating. And one of those questions I get has to do with what we're going to talk about today, and that's anime porn. All right, so the basic idea here when people ask this question where they want to justify using it is that, you know, it's not really hurting anyone, right? I mean, I think the fact is that, like, unless you live in a cave, unless you've drunk the Kool-Aid and you're a pro-porn apologist, you probably recognize that, you know, like, even if you view porn, right, you probably recognize that it's not a healthy industry to be a part of, let's just put it that way, right? Like, the more we read the stories of women and men in porn, the conditions of their work, the fact that they have to use drugs, that they're in physical pain, right? All this shady behavior. Like, if you think there's shady behavior in Hollywood behind the scenes, yeah, have a guess at how much shady behavior goes on, quote unquote, because I think porn's shady behavior, you know, but behind the scenes in the porn industry, like all the manipulation, the sexual abuse, the spread of STDs, you know? And so it's been actually really cool to see more and more people, and we've spoke about this on previous podcasts, begin to speak out about porn and say, like, if porn is this abusive, okay, well, I don't really want to endorse it. I don't want to be part of it. All right. I mean, and this isn't just for, like, the full-on rape stuff. I think, like, people are recognizing, like, even when women consent to this lifestyle of abuse, it's still not okay. You know, like, I don't care if she's consenting to be to being abused, right? Like, it's actually, in a sense, sadder that someone should consent to be abused. You know what I mean? So that's been good. But, okay, so for many people, these are the reasons that they enjoy other types of pornography that don't involve, I guess, what we could call live action filming, eh? So one genre of porn that really corners the market on this is what we've already referred to more generally, anime, but that's hentai, okay. So hentai, for those of you who don't know, is the Western label given to anime pornography. It comes from a Japanese word that means perverted, actually. Over the last generation, hentai has become some of the most popular porn in the world. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, cartoon pornography is currently among, like, the top most searched for niches of porn on certain certain devices, you know, that access the internet. So what do we say to this? Here's the question, right? Is cartoon porn, more like hentai, more ethical an option for porn consumers because it doesn't involve live action actors? I mean, you might say, a lot of people use things. Yeah, I am. You know, and this is just an anime. It's a drawing. It's just a thing, and I'm using it, and therefore it's okay. So how would I respond to this? Well, I think the first thing to recognize that if we find a form of media where women are not being physically harmed or degraded, like in hentai porn, right? Like there's not like this. It's obviously not the same as live action porn. And so someone might say, well, look, in hentai porn, like, there aren't actually real life women being hit and degraded and humiliated. I think, you know, no one's going to deny, you know, that's a good thing. that we don't want women being physically harmed or degraded. So, yeah, okay, that's good. That's a good thing. Okay, however, it's also important to note that just because something is better than something else in one respect, it doesn't make it good. All right? I mean, it's like saying smoking a carton of cigarettes every night, that's less bad than smoking 3 cartons of cigarettes every night. Okay, maybe, but that doesn't make smoking a carton of cigarettes healthy. All right, something similar is true here. So I want to give you 3 reasons anime porn is still really just lame and bad and awful. Okay, so first, anime porn is infused with the same sorts of messages and values as live action porn. Okay? It is. Right? It's all about the degradation and objectification of women for the masturbatory pleasure of men. Okay? Like in these cartoons, the female figure she's portrayed as nothing more than an object for male pleasure, right? Like women are still portrayed as powerless. What do I mean powerless? I mean like either powerless over male advances or powerless over her own sexual euphoria that compels her, quote unquote, to be used. So anime porn is marketed and sold with messaging, with the same sorts of messaging as its live action counterpart. And that's clearly a problem, okay? Second reason is that anime porn is just as addictive as live action porn. All right, so the first is, like, it conveys the exact same degrading messages, right? The second is, it's just as addictive, right? Like, addiction to porn, like any kind of porn, is actually known by the American Society of Addiction Medicine as a behavioral addiction. And we've dealt with this in the past, right? But, I mean, again, let's just say it really quickly. I mean, the idea that in order for something to be addictive, it has to be something you inhale or inject is so out of touch with modern neuroscience. We now know, right, that behaviors can be just as addictive as substances can. Like gambling would be an example, all right? So the ASAM, the American Society of Addiction Medicine, recognizes these things as behavioral addictions, right? Where someone, this is essentially what a behavioral addiction is, where someone is pathologically pursuing neurological rewards their brain gives them when they engage in certain pleasurable activities, behaviors. All kinds of porn addiction, right, regardless of whether the actors on the screen are filmed or drawn, are harmful to us because they warp our normal sex drive into something unhealthy and compulsive. Right? So porn might feel pleasurable, right, in the moment, but it's ultimately the enemy of real satisfaction. It's ultimately the enemy of real satisfaction. You know, like, all the studies, and again, we're going to talk about my book a little bit at the end of this, The Porn Myth. I've got a couple of chapters on this. There is so much research that has come out that has shown that even those who engage in pornography on a semi-regular basis, you know, they tend to view their partner's physical appearance, the affection that they give, as totally subpar. So if you want to remain sexually dissatisfied for the rest of your life, then it turns out that the porn's a good way to go, eh? Porn's a good way to go. All right, so the first reason I gave you was that it's infused with the same sorts of messages as real live action porn. Second reason is that anime porn is just as addictive as live action porn. Third, anime porn is in some sense worse. Yes, that's right, worse in its messaging than live action porn. Well, how could that possibly be? Well, the way that could possibly be is because the characters are completely malleable, right? Artists, and if you've had the complete unpleasure, maybe that's the wrong word to use, if you've had the misfortune of stumbling across anime porn, or if you're somebody who looks at it, you recognize that artists can make the characters look exactly the way they want. Like every fetish can be fulfilled, no matter how unreal or bizarre. Artists and consumers can pleasure themselves to any kind of abuse that you could possibly imagine and dull their consciences into doing it, right? And it's easy. It's easier to do that with anime porn because you just got to say to yourself, like, no one's getting hurt here. All right? Because these are animated, it has a disarming effect on the viewer. The person like masturbating to anime porn doesn't need to practice any kind of empathy, to use a buzzword, right? Compassion, because she's not real. Doesn't matter. Like, all she is a lifeless scribbling of ink. So this type of pornography, right? And again, if you've been unfortunate enough to stumble across this stuff, is known for showing gross mistreatment of women through horrific acts of bestiality and even images of children having sex. Like, are we really going to commend the makers and consumers of this material because they aren't using real people, right? They say to themselves, hey, it's not like, like I don't like it when real children are being abused, but I really get off, right, to cartoon children being abused. Now, that goes back to this first point, right, of it containing this awful messaging. And don't think this isn't having an impact on how you view yourself, view your sexuality, view the goodness of sexual desire and your relationships with other people. So we could say, right, like, is this virtuous or healthy, right, to shape our libidos around this kind of material? I think the answer is obviously no. Like, when people justify this kind of material, they're often asking the wrong question, right? They're often saying, who isn't abused in the making of this pornography? But I think the real question should be, who is abused in the making of this, all right? I think the answer is you are. You are. The viewer. And not just the viewer, but of course the person drawing these images, like this sick kind of fantasy for himself. He's also being abused in a sense. So there's some really good reasons to stop justifying anime porn. Before I talk about the awesome group that's doing amazing work to help people love people and use things, I want to invite you to join the Love People Use Things campaign. And big thank you, seriously, to all of you who have begun doing it. As I said in the beginning of this episode, I travel the country and I'm speaking constantly. And what I want to do is print some booklets. I want to write, I've got the text all written. I need to have enough money to print off booklets in bulk, like the kind that you staple, so it'd be like 20 pages, something simple. And I want to just print these off in the tens of thousands and bring them to all of my events where I speak. And I want to give them to the teens for free. So I've got different ideas like this, but that's why I want to invite you to be part of the Love People Use Things campaign, because that's actually what's going to legitimately enable me to do this. So here's what happens if you start supporting the Love People Use Things campaign for $10 a month. Number one, I'm going to send you my book, The Porn Myth, that I mentioned earlier, exposing the reality behind the fantasy of pornography, and I will sign it for you. I'll also send you the book, Equipped: Smart Parenting in a Sexualized World by Amanda Zerfus. You'll get a month of the greatest filtering and accountability software on the internet today for free. That's Covenant Eyes, all right? Actually, if you type in FRAD into the promo code, you can try it out for a month. So there you go. I just told you how to get it for free. But you really should get Covenant Eyes. It's seriously the best thing out there. If something better comes out tomorrow, you better believe I'll start talking about that. But Covenant Eyes is head and shoulders above everything else. I'm also going to send you a sticker, Love People Use Things sticker. You're going to get 25% off our new Love People Use Things t-shirts, and you'll have access to free live stream events that we plan on doing. And these are live stream events we're going to have like just for men. We're going to have ones just for women. There's going to be ones just for parents to educate you. So if you want to be part of the Love People Use Things experience, if you want the whole experience, I should say, you're not really having it unless you decide to support the show for $10 a month. It would make a big difference, I think. So go to lovepeopleusethings.fm. Up the very top is a big black bar that says Join the Love People Use Things campaign. You can just click that or click support. And a big thanks to all of you. This week, I want to talk about one website you may have heard of. You probably should have because it's huge. My friend Alexander Rhodes runs it. It's called nofap.com. Fap is slang for masturbate, in case you're not familiar. The tagline is Get a New Grip on Life, which is kind of funny. They have hundreds of thousands of members in their subreddit forum. And many of these people aren't religious, by the way. So I know Alexander, he's not a practicing religious person. He's not a Christian or anything like that. I think he's an atheist or an agnostic. I forget. But he's doing a lot of great work. And Nofap is doing a lot of great work to help people. I think it's really important. Hey, and I'm not sure if you've noticed this or not, but I really try to make sure that I'm trying to speak to a wide audience here. Like, I am a Christian. I'm a Catholic. But you might not be, and that's okay. Like, I think we should all agree that the world would be better without sexual exploitation, whether you're an atheist or a Muslim or a Jew or a Christian or whatever. So go check out nofap.com. Next time somebody tells you this is just a religious issue, you might send them to nofap.com. Check it out. You can even get a free book called Getting Started with Nofap. It says how to use the Nofap platform to reach your goals. So it's a really inspirational platform. You should follow them on Twitter. They got some, as I say, inspirational memes and tweets that they're continually pumping out. So go check out nofap.com. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Love People Use Things podcast. I will chat with you next week.